Hello everybody, this is Jack Dennis and welcome to our channel and Tales of the Red Bandana. And today we're going to be talking about the starting of the Jackson Hole One Fly. We're getting a lot of publicity now, being honored by the American Fly Fishing Museum for all our conservation work and running quite an event to highlight not only fly fishing, but bring back stream improvement in many areas of our Rocky Mountains where our contest, and I really don't like to use the word contest, it's more of an event. We have a great deal of fun, and I hope you want to find out more about it, because it's in its 38th year, and it started very small, like lots of things. And I want to tell you about how it all started. It started first with my friendship with Curt Gowdy, the famous broadcaster of the old days. And, in 1 year, he did the World Series, the Super Bowl. I mean, literally all college basketball championship, NBA, everything. And went down as one of the most highly respected sportscasters. But for us fly fishermen, he brought the American Sportsman Show, which was the first time fly fishing and a lot of sports, from hunting, the outdoors, were brought into the forefront of broadcast television. In those days, there was only three networks that were producing shows, and it was on prime time, either on a Saturday or right after the football games. But Curt was really, when I was a young boy, I pretend I was out on the stream on the American Sportsman, and lucky enough, I got to meet him and do an American Sportsman show in 1968. Before that, I had met Lee Wulff, and of course, the two of them had done so many things together, TV shows, and were very much pals. And we got a chance to run into him at one of the Federation fly fishing events, and he was working on a new article, and he said, look, I'm doing an article on everybody picking what they only had one fly for trout, what would it be? And Curt said, oh, well, hey, we're in. And we both picked the muddler minnow, because that was the early 70s, and that was a bang-up pattern, people, there wasn't any store you couldn't buy a muddler minnow. But the nice thing about it is you could use it as a dry and tie it a different way to use it as a wet fly streamer. Very versatile pattern. So Curt and I jumped right on it. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, wait a minute. Why didn't you say the woolly bugger? Well, it was just starting to get popular. We had woolly worms and we used them, but all it took was adapting the marabou tail and a few added things, and it became probably the fly that most people might choose. Well, anyway, this gave a great idea for Curt. He said, look, next time we come fishing, I shot in the one-shot antelope hunt, a great event in Wyoming. It's been there for, 70 years, where they hunt with the Shoshone tribe, and it's just a big event. You get one shell, and you're going after an antelope. So you get one shot, the one-shot antelope hunt. My father was very much involved in that. As a young boy, I used to watch. I even met Roy Rogers during that time. He came to the event, and it was a big festival. And I thought, geez, that's pretty cool. So Curt said, look, why don't we form a contest? And he was very competitive. He didn't like that a lot of times I caught more fish than him, and he didn't like that. He says, no, we're gonna have a contest. I'm gonna make up the rules, and it's gonna be a one fly contest, and we're gonna do it every summer that we fish. And I said, well, that's fine. You got a point for a fish under 10 inches and 2 points for over 12 inches, or he had it all worked out. And if you got a big fish, you got more points, and we'd hire a guide. The first one we had was in Dillon, Montana, floating the beaverhead, and we were actually using rubber leg nips, yuck bugs, and that type of thing as our one fly contest. And he said, well, this is a lot of fun. So we did it another year, and eventually we ended up on the Snake River. And this would have been in the mid-70s. And he says, look, I'm going to beat you on your own river today. So off we went. And the amazing thing about it is he would make this into an event. I mean, he would announce it. I mean, imagine going down the river. You had the premier announcer in the world, literally, narrating a fake contest. And Dennis would go in there, okay, Dennis, and he'd go into Howard Cosell and said, Howard, what do you think of Dennis? He'd do a perfect imitation. Then he'd go to Dandy Don, and he had all the announcers down and celebrities. He'd do a beautiful Bing Crosby, because he and Bing Crosby were on the original Trout Unlimited board. And he could, marvelous singing voice. It was just an entertainment. And we were going on a section of the river above, on My Snake River, above Dead Man's Bar. And where a lot of the scenic trips go by. And the people in here would hear that voice, and they'd turn around and look. And so, well, that's the voice of Curt Gowdy. And, Dennis hooks his fly, will he lose it? It was unbelievable. And so we had this day really was a turning point, because I always beat him, and he did not like that. He was a fierce competitor. Curt was on the Wyoming basketball team, the only time they won a national championship, and played baseball in college. He was just a real competitor. So off we go, and we end up where he's got a 1-point lead on me, and we're coming into Dead Man's Bar, and one of my guides are trying to pull for me. He's going by the bank across from Dead Man's Bar. Now you can only go so far, and you got to row back, because if you miss that landing, you got another 6 hours of floating. So we're going down there, and I had perfect things. I missed several fish. Gowdy's laughing. Well, as you can tell right now, the time is out. And I wanted to remind you of the Heidi game. I said, don't count us out quite yet. And we're rowing across the middle of the river, and this was what really was interesting, because in the Snake, all the fish are on the banks. There's nothing in the middle of the river. And I had pretty much given up, and I had my fly just bouncing across the water, and all of a sudden I have fish on. And he goes, oh my God. He says, it could be a tie if it's not over, I think it was 10 inches or 12 inches, whatever it was 1 inch over. I got 2 points, and boy, he said, that's it. He says, I can't beat you. I want to do this contest against somebody else. He says, why don't we make this into a contest? Can't you come up with some ideas? And I said, well, that's kind of interesting. Well, Curt ran into an old friend from Florida that knew him, Paul Brune, who was our premier sports writer in Jackson. And you can visit his columns on Trout Magazine, the Trout Unlimited. He's very well known. He knows everybody in the business, all the history. And he said, why can't we design it, a contest, Curt, like the Florida fly fishing contest for tarpon and everything. He said, that's an idea. We got to work on Dennis. So he kept bugging me, the two of them, and we brought in a couple other friends, Dan Abrams and Joe Burke, and they kind of came up with the new with some rules and some ideas on it. Well, this was like 1976. We tried to put out invitations to see if anybody. We got 3 invitations, not enough to hold the contest. And amazingly enough, one of those invitations that was accepted was from Robert Redford and the team. It's like, God, couldn't get anybody interested. And the big problem too is there wasn't enough guides at that time. And it especially couldn't do it in the middle of the season. It would have to be after Labor Day, was what we thought was the best time to do it. Well, time went on, another 10 years went down the road. Paul kept bugging me, and finally we put some heads together, and it became an event. and we had the very first one in 1986. Paul and Joe and all the people were involved, and it started the Jackson Hole One Fly, 1986, and here we are, 2024, getting ready for the next one. But I thought, it was Lee Wulff who eventually ended up doing the article in Outdoor Life, helped kind of get everybody excited, about, what would you do if you had to pick a fly for an event or a contest. And one of the most important things, and I'd like everybody to understand this, we had a lot of criticism when we started this because fly fishing is not meant to be a competitive sport. And Lee Wulff wrote a wonderful article, and that's coming to what I'm going to be showing this afternoon. He came in 1990 with Curt, and we had a fabulous event. We had Chuck Yeager as honorary chairman, the guy that broke the sound barrier and the right stuff, and it was a great start. And we were lucky enough to film this, and this would be the last time. Excuse me. It would be the last time that Curt and Lee would be together. And I was really blessed because I got to spend 2 weeks fishing with Lee Wulff, and eventually driving him from Jackson Hole to the Trade Association meeting in Denver. It was wonderful. We've known each other and got together, and he was a great supporter of what we were going to do. And we'll be talking more about my relationship in another program with Lee, and of course Curt.